Your motorcycle chain sounds like a zipper shredding through gravel. Every time you roll on the throttle, you hear it. A dry, gritty, metallic scrape that gets louder by the week. You grab a can of chain lube, spray the chain until it drips, and ride away thinking the problem is solved. 300 miles later, the sound is back. The chain is tight in some spots, loose in others, and the rear sprocket has a hook-shaped wear pattern carved into every tooth. You are not maintaining your chain. You are killing it with the wrong products and the wrong method, and the replacement chain and sprocket set you will need in 5,000 miles costs 4 times what proper maintenance would have cost. There is a reason every factory-trained Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki mechanic cleans a chain the same way, and it has nothing to do with the $15 aerosol can the parts counter is trying to sell you. By the end of this video, you will know the Japanese workshop method for cleaning and lubricating a motorcycle chain, the 3 mistakes that destroy more chains than dirt ever does, and why the cleaning product you need costs $3 at a hardware store instead of $15 at a motorcycle dealership. Let us start with what is actually on your chain. It is not just dirt. A motorcycle drive chain operates in some of the harshest conditions of any component on the bike. It spins at high speed, flexes around 2 sprockets, gets blasted with road grit, rain, and in the winter months, road salt. Every time the chain articulates around the sprocket teeth, the internal rollers and pins generate friction and heat. The factory lubricant packed inside the O-rings or X-rings between the pin and the roller is the only thing preventing metal-on-metal contact under load. The black paste building up on the outside of your chain is a mixture of old chain lube, road dust, sand, and oxidized grease. It is abrasive. Every time the chain flexes, that paste gets ground between the side plates and the sprocket teeth, acting like a grinding compound that wears away metal. The chain does not stretch because the metal is elongating. It stretches because the pins and bushings are wearing down, one microscopic layer at a time, every revolution. Most riders reach for one of 2 products, and both are wrong. The first is brake cleaner. Riders spray brake parts cleaner on the chain because it cuts through grime fast and leaves the chain looking shiny. The problem is that brake cleaner is a chlorinated solvent designed to dissolve grease and oil completely. It does not just clean the outside of the chain. It penetrates past the O-rings and flushes the factory lubricant out of the internal pin and roller interfaces. Your chain looks clean and is now running dry inside, where you cannot see it and cannot relubricate it. The O-ring seals the factory grease in, and once brake cleaner has washed it out, no amount of spray lube will replace it. The chain is now a ticking clock, wearing from the inside out, and the first sign of failure is a tight spot, or a snapped chain at 70 miles per hour. The second mistake is the wire brush. Riders take a stiff, bristled wire brush to the side plates to scrub off the baked-on grime. The wire bristles contact the O-rings and X-rings, tearing microscopic gouges in the rubber seals. A damaged O-ring leaks factory grease. A leaking O-ring lets road grit into the pin and roller interface. You have not cleaned the chain. You have opened the door to accelerated internal wear that is invisible until the chain fails. The Japanese workshop method is different. It is gentler, it is more effective, and it works on the principle that you remove the external abrasive paste without touching the internal factory lubrication. Every Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki dealership service department uses some version of this process. Step 1 is preparation. The motorcycle must be on a rear stand with the rear wheel off the ground and able to spin freely. Put the transmission in neutral so the chain can be rotated by hand. Place a drain pan or a sheet of cardboard under the swing arm to catch runoff. Do not do this on a rear tire you care about, because the cleaning product you are about to use will stain rubber if it sits. Step 2 is the cleaner, and here is where the Japanese method diverges from the motorcycle industry marketing machine. The cleaning product specified in the factory service manuals from Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki for drive chain cleaning is not a branded chain cleaner. It is kerosene, also called paraffin in some markets, the same kerosene you buy at a hardware store or gas station for $3 a quart. Kerosene is a mild petroleum solvent. It dissolves old chain lube, road grime, and oxidized grease paste without attacking the rubber O-rings or flushing the internal factory lubrication. It is the product specified by the engineers who designed the chain, and it costs 1/5 what a can of branded chain cleaner costs, for the simple reason that branded chain cleaner is kerosene with a fragrance additive and a spray nozzle. Apply the kerosene with a soft bristled brush, not a wire brush, not a stiff nylon brush, a soft bristled parts cleaning brush, the kind that looks like a oversized toothbrush. Dip the brush in a small container of kerosene and work it along the side plates and rollers while rotating the wheel slowly. The black paste will dissolve and run off into your drain pan. Work the brush along the top run of the chain, then the bottom run, then the side plates. Do not soak the chain, do not let kerosene pool on the O-rings. Apply enough to dissolve the grime, then move on. Step 3 is the wipe. Take a clean lint-free shop cloth and wrap it around the chain at the rear sprocket. Hold the cloth with light pressure while rotating the wheel backward. The chain will pull through the cloth, and the dissolved grime and excess kerosene will be wiped off the external surfaces. Repeat this with a fresh section of cloth 2 or 3 times until the cloth comes away clean. The chain should look dull metallic, not shiny. A shiny chain has a residue of old lube still on it. A dull chain is clean metal ready for lubrication. Step 4 is the dry. Let the chain sit for 10 to 15 minutes after the wipe down. The residual kerosene on the external surfaces needs to evaporate completely before you apply lubricant. If you spray lube over wet kerosene, the solvents in the lube will mix with the kerosene residue and create a thin film that never properly bonds to the chain. The lube will fling off within the first mile of riding and land on your rear wheel, your swing arm, and your exhaust pipe, where it will bake into a permanent black crust. Step 5 is the lubrication, and this is where the Japanese method makes a distinction that most riders miss entirely. There are 2 categories of chain lubricant, and they are not interchangeable. The first is cold spray lube. The aerosol can you buy at the motorcycle shop. It contains a solid lubricant, usually molybdenum disulfide or PTFE, suspended in a solvent carrier. When you spray it, the solvent carries the solid lube into the gaps between the rollers and side plates, then evaporates, leaving the solid lubricant bonded to the metal. This is effective if applied correctly, which means spraying the inside run of the chain while it is warm from a short ride, so centrifugal force pushes the lube into the pin and roller interfaces as the chain spins. The second category is hot wax, and this is the Japanese workshop standard for chain maintenance on performance and touring motorcycles. Hot wax is exactly what it sounds like, a wax-based lubricant that is heated until liquid and applied to the warm chain. As the chain cools, the wax solidifies and bonds to every internal surface, creating a lubricating film that does not fling off, does not attract grit the way oil-based sprays do, and lasts 3 to 4 times longer between applications. You do not need a specialized hot wax system. A can of Motul C2 chain paste or Maxima chain wax applied to a warm chain achieves the same result. The key is application method. Spray the inside run of the chain, the side that contacts the sprocket teeth, in a continuous sweep while rotating the wheel. 1 pass, not 2, not 3, 1 even coat. Let it sit for 15 minutes before riding so the carrier solvent can flash off and the wax can begin bonding. Step 6 is the tension check, and this is where most riders lose the gains they just earned. A clean, lubricated chain that is incorrectly tensioned will wear faster than a dirty chain at the correct tension. Every motorcycle has a specific chain slack specification printed in the owner's manual, usually between 25 and 45 millimeters of vertical movement at the midpoint of the chain between the front and rear sprockets. Too tight and the chain loads the countershaft bearing and the rear wheel bearing every time the suspension compresses. Too loose, and the chain can slap the swing arm, jump off the sprocket, or wrap around the engine case and crack the aluminum housing. Check the slack at 3 points around the chain by rotating the rear wheel. Chains do not wear evenly. A tight spot indicates internal pin wear in a specific section, and if the tight spot exceeds the slack range, the chain is done regardless of how clean it is. The 3 mistakes that destroy more chains than dirt ever does. First, brake cleaner on the chain. 1 spray can of brake parts cleaner flushes the factory grease from behind the O-rings and turns a chain with 10,000 miles of life into a chain with 2,000. Second, wire brushing the side plates. Torn O-rings leak factory grease and let road grit into the pin interface. Third, spraying cold lube on a cold chain. The carrier solvent evaporates before the solid lubricant reaches the pin and roller gaps, and the lube sits on the outside of the chain where it flings off within 1 mile and attracts fresh grit for the next 300. And the one habit that doubles chain life. Clean and lubricate the chain every 300 to 500 miles, or every wet ride, whichever comes first, not every 1,000 miles. Not when it starts looking dirty. Every 300 to 500 miles. A clean, properly lubricated chain with correctly maintained O-rings delivers 15,000 to 20,000 miles of service. A neglected chain is dead at 6,000 and takes the rear sprocket with it. A replacement O-ring chain and sprocket set costs between $150 and $300. A quart of kerosene and a spray can of chain wax costs about $15. The math is not complicated. The Japanese workshop method is not a life hack. It is the procedure that factory mechanics follow because it preserves the internal lubrication, removes the external abrasive, and protects the rubber seals that make modern O-ring chains possible. Clean with kerosene. Do not use brake cleaner. Lube the warm chain. Do not spray cold. Check the slack at 3 points. Do not trust the first measurement. And your chain will deliver the mileage the engineers in Tokyo, Osaka, and Hamamatsu designed it to achieve.